Well guys, I bounce out of bed every Thursday morning because I love coming here. So I appreciate everybody making the time, particularly also all the visitors that are here today. I'm going to talk today about something which is less typically business language, but I think it's crucial to stand out in a highly competitive marketplace and to have a happy life. I think it was Chris, who told me once, happy wife, happy life. I now know exactly what you mean by that.
It's not possible.
Today I'm going to talk to you about purpose and how I help people getting clear about their purpose and what is really involved. So I hope this is going to add value to you. First things first, as Marcus already said earlier, it's true that I'm a psychologist by trade, so I studied about 7 years initially at uni just to get my head around what drives people, what makes them tick. I think it's important, would you agree, in business, knowing what makes people tick, right? In sales, it's important to know what makes people tick. In leadership, it's important to know what makes people tick. And so coming back to purpose is crucial. So let me share with you the following quick journey by using also one of the models that I've developed over time. In our society, we really are very much driven by what a man thinks he can make happen. Something along that line, Descartes thinking. You know, if you're enlightened, you've got the right thoughts, everything is possible. I've somehow walked away from that a little bit, but I still understand that what makes people think is really what stands sometimes in the way of doing what it takes to be successful in anything, whether in business or life. So it's important to help people understand and empower them with ways to get a grip on their thinking. So that's really important. I'm really passionate about the mental side of things. At the same time, I also think that sometimes our society sometimes dumbs down the emotional aspects of business. And I think the more we actually tune in with that first and be a leader by tuning in with people's emotions, I think the more we can lead people on a pathway that is mutually beneficial. So it's super important to really be attuned to that side. I mean, we've done a bit of work around emotional intelligence leadership. Well, guess what? If we're just great thinkers and great strategists, but people don't feel special and cared about in our organization, it won't go anywhere. The best strategies will fail because the emotional side is really important. People buy emotionally first. Next one, physical. Just look around. Australia has now already taken over the highest rate of obese people in society away from the US. Per capita. Physically speaking, the body will start to show evidence that mentally and emotionally people are disconnected. And it will show. And all sorts of illnesses come and emerge, and people think that they are victims of that, but guess what? It's how people think and feel that leads to certain things on the body. And neuroscience is very clear in that message today. So I want to make sure that people get really back active and empower themselves with the tools to actually get a grip of things that are important. The next one, relational. I couldn't get this one right for a long time in my personal life. But thanks to people like Jan and the Dutch community, you guys were great role models for me, and I actually started seeing that, you know what, maybe there is something more to it. And soon after I started getting a desire around being happily married and devoted to one woman, soon after she walked in. And since then we've been together and had a great journey together. Relational, it starts at the home and then it goes exponentially to the businesses that we deal with and the people that we touch. So it's super important that we know how to go about building relationships. Next one is financial. I think sometimes in business we are a bit predestined to, run behind the carrot. And I've been definitely in that boat as well. And guess what? Beautifully how the universe pans out. Whenever you chase the dollars, and you work for your own agenda, I've been slapped in the face by the universe and said, that's not what you're here for. And so I actually turned it around. So I started seeing that the more I align myself and really look after the people that I serve, the more I get rewarded. And guess what? It's not for the reward that I'm doing it, because I love the great feedback that I'm getting all along the way, or just being able to contribute and make a difference. Similar to what you said earlier. So, financial comes when all the rest of it somehow is aligned. Next one, spiritual. I think it was Rade. Where are you, Rade? Over there? Rade, we had an interesting conversation, a coffee meeting where the first thing you want to know is who are you and what drives you. First time ever that people actually took a notice of that, because we typically start straight up into business. Spiritually speaking, what happens if people are clear about why they are here for, what their purpose is, and how they can make an impact in people's and business lives. Spiritually, super important. I have an understanding now. I've worked now in 25 countries. I've touched people in many businesses already. And one of the great things that I notice every single time again is how few people really know what they're here for. And you ask them, and it will be a shall be all right sort of attitude, or we'll see, you know? No. It starts with desire. It starts with tuning in with yourself and knowing then and doing things that are in line with what you value. Rather than thinking that you have to do this and you should do that. No. That's other people's agendas. What are you here for? So I hope people get really clear about it. So this is my little model. 6 facets to life that I help my clients integrate. Super important. Let me show you a few case studies. Very pleased that some of the guys here at the front from ASC joined us here today, because I really love what we've been able to do with ASC, and it's actually thanks to Carl. I really say hand on heart, thank you very much, because you really started this journey many moons ago. We've been working with ASC for the last 2.5, 3 years. We've done a lot of business with them. You see, it's a very complex business, very cool product, you know, submarines and warships. And what we've been doing is we've done a lot of work in terms of helping teams really get clear from a leadership perspective in terms of what the culture should look like and what strategies they will use, and then execute well on it. We've done some retreats, we've done quite a few accountability meetings just to make sure that everybody knows what to do every week and stays focused on what matters, coaching, mentoring, and the likes. But here's more the cool part. We've been looking a lot on the relational aspect of things. If you got a lot of people that are super technical and task-orientated, their challenge is sometimes that they forget about the people along the way and celebrate it and make them feel appreciated, which is why I'm really glad that we started that journey. Helping people again to think certain ways that are more helpful for the organization and the people that are a part of it is super important. The next thing, emotional. As a result of the work, I mean, you'll find that quite a few people probably feel a little bit more valued and loved. And I think it's important to perform well. And I think with time, what we'll see is with the stats that we're tracking at ASC, is that physically you'll start seeing that more people will rock up to work, be productive while they're there, and have less sick leave and the likes, because it's just a byproduct of all the firmware. So this is one. Results so far, I think that's gives you a bit of an idea, but we've got a more unified operational management team here in SA. We've done a lot of human capital freeing up of that and created a more productive and engaging workforce. But it's obviously a continuous work in progress. We've done also a bit of work with PwC over the years. Andrew is one of the guys that we've been working with, so I'm glad that you made it. Very complex business, lots of people involved. Here's what we've been doing. After an introduction by somebody who saw value in it, we've done a national roadshow, which means we've been to all the offices around the country. And I've personally worked with 400 of the most senior people in the organization, so partners and directors. What I've helped them with is a lot, say it in a nutshell, EQ. Building EQ, emotional intelligence, equipping them with tools to build relationships. Make them think in certain ways that are more helpful for themselves and their business. Make sure that people are valued along the way, starting with the clients. And then financially, they bank the dollars. Here's now before the results. I've had several people that would have attested that from a $500 to $100 to $1,000 investment, one day with me, that they've actually banked $100,000 or more in the first year alone. Now just look from an ROI, $500, $100,000. So that's the sort of return that I'd like to create for my clients. Here's Jared, works for LJ Hooker in Golar. Jared was a top performer in his first year. He was admitted to the Admiral Club of LJ Hooker, which is pretty much saying you were one of the top salespeople. But soon after, he somehow lost his way and he slid into a depression. And he really had a hard time getting out of it. So emotionally speaking inside, he just couldn't make it work. And his performance suffered. I was very happy for the referral that I got to him. And I started working with him. And the first thing I did was super important, was an IPI session. An individual planning and integration session. Where I pretty much rolled up the sleeves, got dirty, I got in the trenches with him. And I started butcher papering everything to understand what really makes him tick and make him see it and admit it and own up to it. And a lot of the times you're dusting things off because people have forgotten about it along the way. And so that was the start. Because of that, he came back with a little statement that is only that big. And it says 4 sentences, 4 words, with each sentence to it. He's got it on his iPhone, and every single day he reminds himself of the 4 things. Those 4 things right now have made him become so happy within that he's consistently in a good space inside first, which benefited his relationship, which benefited his business, his staff around him, and the likes. And I'm really pleased to see that. So spiritually, I've worked there first, helping him to understand why he's here and what really is important to him, so that he can fulfill more of that and live his life in line with that. Emotionally, stabilize him, mentally, make him think certain ways, and then physically, make sure that he looks after himself too. This is the result so far. I've already touched on it. Now, I'm really very pleased and grateful for introducing something that I've now introduced to you next, which is what I call purpose, passion, power, which puts all the dots together. So it's pretty much integrating the 6 facets in life and business. In December, I'm going to take a team or a group of people from all different walks of life and organizations to the Novotel in Barossa Valley for a 2-day offsite, to really integrate all of this, put the dots together for him in a very select and intimate sort of session. So I'm looking for more people to join that particular retreat from all sorts of businesses. And my ideal referrals are the following. Leaders that love personal development, because people like, for example, Chris, by the way, you are one of those. We've done a bit of work together. You understand how important it is that people are self-empowered. You know, personal leadership starts really with personal leadership. The better leader you are within, the easier you can lead people on the journey with you. So I'm looking for more people like that I can talk to. Secondly, entrepreneurs that have lost their way. We sometimes lose our way. You know, we sometimes get a bit cocky, or super successful. We lose track of what really matters, and we take things for granted. Business owners that want more. For professionals looking to make a big change, sometimes we follow a corporate life, and then soon after we feel that it's not really right, or we get slapped in the face, and we want to make a change, and we feel fearful about it, and we don't know how to go about it. And so talking to somebody like me, that could help. And last but not least, people that feel stuck. Anyone. I would love those referrals, and I welcome them, and I appreciate your time. Purpose is important, and I'm here to help people fulfill it.